Joining us now to discuss this week's development in City Council and much more is host of the WGN Political Report, Paul Lisnek. Hey,
and
Paul.
what a week it was. Hi, guys.
It certainly was. Let's start with another big vote in City Council on ShotSpotter.
Oh, yeah.
The mayor is vowing to cancel that contract, but City Council is pushing back on him.
So that was a promise of the mayor when he ran, right? He's going to get rid of ShotSpotter. The problem is that several of the aldermen, 34 to be exact at this point, have said, look, my community wants it, or at least my community respects the fact that other communities need it and want it. And I think Nick Sposato, Alderman Sposato, made an important point, which he said, let's remember, it's not even just about the citizens who live here, it's the police, the fire department, those who are first responders who go onto those dangerous scenes. We need to protect them as well. And I just think that those arguments about protecting first responders and also the fact that so many wards want it was enough to bring 34 people on board to say, yeah, we shouldn't get rid of it. That's a challenge to Mayor Johnson's power, of course, because he said he promised. He also made a comment that said, I'm not worried about this, which suggests to me he plans to veto it, but at 34 votes, that's enough to override any veto that he does. So we'll see how that plays out.
Not so much a challenge to his power, but sort of an embarrassment here. Another problem for him has to do with this Reverend Acri pulling his name out. What is your read on that?
So, and you say no challenge to his power, but at some point, Ray, you have to start to wonder, are we beginning to have these constant challenges? Look, with regard to Pastor Acri, I mean, what happened with Scott Wagerspack and Alderman Vasquez, they just in a hearing asked Pastor Acri all sorts of questions about the budget. He didn't know about the shortfall, but he didn't know. His information and his knowledge about the system said, well, he used to ride it when he was a kid. So he's made comments since he took his name out, basically saying, you know, this is just no respect for somebody who, you know, we heard him say, wants to work and all that. But, you know, Wagerspack's argument is we ought to have people with experience who have been doing this work. The CTA's in trouble right now, as is the RTA. Let's get some financial expertise here. And so I think I don't think this was, you know, anything but let's get somebody with some expertise on board.
But he got nominated and he made it out of committee.
Well, but he also said he'd never met with the mayor, so he doesn't really apparently know the mayor very well. And because Wagerspack asked him, well, have you sat with the mayor? Have you talked about these problems? No, I haven't sat with the mayor.
He's a busy guy, he said.
So, you know, and I understand he's probably a wonderful person and, you know, community loves him, that kind of thing. But is that what the RTA needs right now? Arguably, with budget issues, no.
Apparently not. Busy week for the mayor, as always. He was in D.C. at the White House for the state dinner.
Affair.
Asked about the DNC, and he said the whole world is excited about the DNC in Chicago. The question is, will Chicago be ready?
Well, we're getting fine. You know, listen, the fact that he was invited to the state dinner is certainly a good sign that he's got the president's attention. Probably the fact that, not just because we're Chicago, but also because of the DNC, that puts him, they also, the mayor of Milwaukee was there, who, of course, where the RNC is going to be. So, you know, the bottom line is I think everybody is very concerned. Look, even Mayor Johnson, who wants to get rid of ShotSpotter, said, but we're going to keep it through the DNC, right? Well, that's just the way it plays out when you look at the dates. So everybody's aware that we have to be very careful and very focused on the security that we provide over the course of that. So will it be challenging? Yes. Nobody knows what we're in for, but the city's going to do what it can.
Let's switch topics. We've got a lot of Donald Trump topics.
Yeah.
Let's start with
tonight.
even tonight. We'll get to that breaking news in a minute. But first, the trial seems to be wrapping up next week. The jury will deliberate maybe a couple of days. Whatever happens with the verdict, it does not seem to have been hurting Trump in the race.
No, I mean, look, if he's convicted on the counts or any counts, then it'll simply be, you know, it was a setup. It's the Biden administration coming after me. If he's acquitted or it's a hung jury, then he'll have good things to say about that the system works and put a check on Biden. So it's kind of a no lose for Trump when you think about it. He's not going to prison no matter what happens here. The closing arguments will be on Tuesday. The jury has to be charged. That takes some time. And so the jury may get maybe late Tuesday or maybe Wednesday. It just depends on how the judge operates. But the jury should have the case certainly by Wednesday. I think we have a verdict by the end of next week without question. I mean, the jury doesn't really need to be going all that long, but if they do their job properly and go through all the evidence, they may take a couple of days to do it.
Trump's fierce opponent, Nikki Haley, said this week she will vote for him. She won't necessarily endorse him, but she'll vote for him. Yeah. What does that say about her voters? Will they go for Trump now? Will they go for Biden? Can we read the tea leaves there?
Well, what it says about her is, I want to run again in 2028. Let's start there.
Yeah, sure.
And secondly, by the way, we should point out that former President Trump, when asked about her, remember, he called her bird brain, right?
Sure.
And the staff had a bird cage delivered to her. Today, his comments were, oh, no, she'll definitely be a part of my administration. She's so talented. She's so wonderful. It just goes to show you just how fickle politics is. As far as her followers, look, let's remember that a lot of these people, and these are not small numbers, these are 18, 20% of the voters are still supporting her in these late primaries, and she's not even on the ballot. I mean, she's not in the race anymore. And so it does make you think that, you know, it's possible that Trump has a lot of inroads to make with some of those voters. The Biden administration has been trying to reach out to some of those voters, but whether those folks, you know, because they're probably Republicans, line up with the Republican Party and go for Trump. That may not happen though, because again, they didn't go for Trump when he's the only candidate on the ballot. On the ballot. So it might be that they will stay home. It might be they vote for Biden. It might be that they fall in line. I think the next few months will tell us. Too early to know.
That breaking news we talked about, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor in Trump's document case, is asking for a gag order because of comments that Trump has made about that search warrant and the sort of the boilerplate language here. But he said he's, what was the phrase, locked and loaded. They were ready to take me out, part of his fundraising efforts. But it was the same language that was in the Biden warrant.
Yeah, Ray, and what you just used some magic words there. You said boilerplate, and that's exactly what this is. Look, I've worked with the government. I've worked with the FBI on cases. The search warrant they had to go to Mar-a-Lago was pretty much no different than the one they went to Biden's home with, right? That same language was there. What you get now with regard to the former president saying they're locked and loaded, they're coming to assassinate me, free speech only goes so far as to when you're invading somebody else's rights. And here, I think it's one thing to say you have no right to come to my house, and you know that kind of stuff is fine. But when you sort of put out that the administration is getting ready to assassinate you, you've probably crossed the line. I've actually heard from viewers who have read that story on social media and then contacted, you know, what's going on here? Look what Biden's doing to him. It is frivolous. It is not true. It is standard language in the search warrant. And it's just ridiculous that anybody would even buy that. But the former president and his minions put that out there, and that's all people need to hear it. And it's really unfortunate. It is not true.
Yeah, scary.
We've had gag orders in the hush money case, now a request for a gag order in this criminal case. Keeps happening.
So what Aileen Cannon's going to do, who knows? I mean, she'll probably, the way she's done everything else, she'll have a briefing schedule, so this will keep going for quite a while. Look, she's accomplished what I think a lot of people think, if she's trying to meddle with this, has wanted to accomplish, which is this case is not going to happen before the election. So if she issues a warning to Trump on this kind of topic, it would be an appropriate thing for her to do, but we'll see what she does. But she moves slowly in everything she does.
You know, there's never enough time for us here Friday night, but you've got a show Sunday morning.
Sunday, we're gonna pull Representative LaShawn Ford off the floor of the House because they're still dealing with the budget there. He's agreed to come off the floor and talk to us about how things are going with the budget, so we'll do that. And I had an interview, sit down this week with George Stephanopoulos, right? We all know George Stephanopoulos has a phenomenal new book called The Situation Room. We talk about that book. We're going to run a good portion of the interview on our show, and I think it's really interesting. I know you'll be tuning in, so you won't want to miss it.
I will not miss it.
All right.
Thanks, Paul. Nice to see you.
Have a good Memorial Day weekend.
You do the same.
A reflective
Enjoy the
Memorial Day
holiday.
weekend.
Right.
Thank you.